Ever wondered why it would happen if a human walked into the most advanced gym in the universe, where gravity bends, time loops, and your yoga instructor might be made of plasma? Well, today that human showed up, and her warm-up might just shatter reality itself. Another boring day at the galaxy's most elite fitness center, Kale Straylight muttered to himself, his forearms crossed over his iridescent chest as he watched various species move through their workout routines. The massive facility, located in what humans called New Singapore, stood as a testament to intergalactic cooperation, or at least, that's what the brochures claimed. "Sir." Naira Velix, his assistant manager, came bounding over on her anti-gravity discs. Her crystalline form caught the light, sending rainbow refractions across the antimatter treadmills. "We have a situation at the front desk." Kyle sighed, his bioluminescent patterns flickering with annoyance. What now? Did the Centaurians try to book the zero-G chamber for their mating ritual again? "No," Sir Maya's voice chimed like wind through crystal. Well, there's a human requesting a premium membership." Kiel burst out laughing, causing several nearby Neptunian weightlifters to drop their quantum barbells. "A human? In our facility? That's the best joke you've told all solar cycle, Nira." "I'm serious, sir. She's waiting at the front desk right now." Kael's secondary heart skipped a beat. The Galactic Fitness Association had been clear they couldn't discriminate against any sentient species. But humans, they were practically brand new to the galactic community. Their bodies were so primitive. "Fine," he grumbled, following Nira to the front desk. "But this should be entertaining." The facility itself was a marvel of engineering, with ceiling heights accommodating even the tallest Andromedans and specially reinforced floors for the heavy gravity species. Holographic trainers flickered throughout the space, guiding members through proper form for exercises across 5 dimensions. As they approached the desk, Kyle noticed the human female standing there, looking remarkably unimpressed by the floating equipment and phase-shifting workout zones around her. She stood at what he knew to be average human height, though to him, she seemed absurdly small. "Welcome to the galaxy's most elite fitness center," he said, trying to keep the condescension out of his voice. "I understand you're interested in a membership." "That's right," she replied, her voice steady and confident. "I've reviewed your facility's capabilities, and I believe it will serve my needs adequately." Adequately. Kyle felt his pride bristle. This was the most advanced gym in 12 galaxies. "Perhaps you don't understand the nature of our establishment," he began. "Our equipment is designed for beings who can manipulate gravity, shift between dimensions, and lift small moons." The humans smiled, and something about that smile made Kale's third vertebrae tingle uncomfortably. "Oh, I understand perfectly. Your brochure was very informative, though I noticed your protein shake bar doesn't stock any drinks above 50,000 Scoville units. Might want to work on that." Nira's crystalline form vibrated with suppressed laughter. Kale shot her a warning glare before turning back to the human. "Ms. Ray Morgan," she supplied, "recently retired from what we humans call competitive athletics." Kyle pulled up the galactic database on his neural interface. "Human athletics? Surely this was some sort of..." His thoughts trailed off as he read the entry. Olympic medals in multiple disciplines, world records in strength and endurance events, and most disturbingly, something called ultra-marathons. "I see," he said slowly, his bioluminescent pattern shifting to a troubled purple. "Well, Ms. Blake, while we appreciate your interest, I should warn you that our facility's starter assessment would require you to maintain consciousness in at least 3 gravity levels simultaneously." Ray's smile widened. Sounds like a good warm-up. When can we start? Naira made a sound like tinkling bells. Sir, according to Regulation 7249B, we must allow any sentient being to attempt the assessment regardless of their perceived limitations. Kael's forearms dropped to his sides in defeat. Very well. Naira, please process Ms. Blake's temporary credentials while I gather the assessment team. Let's see how our human friend handles the famous pulse-wing protocol. As he walked away, he heard the human asking Naira about the gym's smoothie bar recipe for quantum-charged protein shakes. This was going to be either the shortest assessment in the facility's history, or... no, he wouldn't even consider the alternative. After all, what damage could one small human possibly do to his perfect record of failing 99.9% of all applicants? If only he'd paid more attention to the section about human determination in his xenobiology classes. Kael returned with what he considered his most intimidating assessment team. Leading the pack was Blazer Sunfist, a being composed entirely of plasma, who had once bench-pressed a small asteroid. Behind him floated Quantum Queen, her probability-shifting form, making it impossible to tell exactly where she began or ended. Bringing up the rear was Axel. No one knew his real name, but the 12-dimensional entity insisted that Axel was close enough. Ray Morgan stood in the assessment chamber wearing what Kael assumed were primitive human exercise garments, something called yoga pants, and a sports bra. She was doing simple stretches, completely ignoring the fact that the room's gravity shifted every 3 seconds. Right, Kael announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The assessment consists of 3 phases. Phase 1 tests your adaptability to various environmental conditions. Phase 2 evaluates your strength and endurance. Phase 3. Well, no human has ever made it to Phase 3. Fascinating, Ray said, finishing her stretch. Quick question. Does the gravity in here ever go above 15 times Earth normal? I'm trying to plan my breathing exercises. Axel rippled in what might have been laughter. The human thinks she needs to breathe. Actually, Naira chimed in from her observation post. Humans do require constant oxygen intake to... Yes, thank you, Naira. Kael interrupted. Miss Blake, please step into the starting circle. Blazer will demonstrate the first challenge. Blazer Sunfist moved to the center of the room, his plasma form glowing with barely contained power. The first test is simple. Maintain your position while we cycle through various atmospheric conditions. Most beings give up when we reach the methane phase. Cozy, Ray remarked, taking her place. Just like training at high altitude, except with more potential for spontaneous combustion. The assessment chamber hummed to life. Kael watched with growing confusion as Ray adapted to each environmental change, with nothing more than slight adjustments to her breathing and posture. When they reached the methane phase, she simply held her breath and gave them a thumbs up. Impossible, Quantum Queen muttered, her form fluctuating with agitation. She's maintaining perfect stability without using any probability manipulation. Probably because humans only exist in 3 primary dimensions, Axel offered helpfully. They're very limited that way. Ray's voice came through clear and steady. Are we moving on to the actual challenge soon? My nose is getting a bit itchy. Kael's bioluminescent patterns flashed with irritation. Fine. Phase 1 complete. Though I suspect you'll find Phase 2 more challenging, Quantum Queen. The probability shifting being moved forward, her form coalescing into something vaguely humanoid. This phase requires you to perform what we call a quantum circuit. You'll need to complete exercises in multiple probability states simultaneously. Like CrossFit. Ray nodded, but with more violations of classical physics. The chamber reconfigured itself, creating a series of workout stations that seem to exist in several places at once. Quantum Queen demonstrated, her form splitting into multiple versions of herself, each performing different exercises across probability spaces. The current record is maintaining coherence across 7 probability states, Kael announced proudly. I don't expect you to manage more than. Done, Ray called out. To everyone's astonishment, she had already completed the circuit, her form perfectly stable, across 9 different probability states. I used to do interval training between parallel universes back home. Really helps with the core strength. Axel's 12-dimensional form contracted in surprise. But you're not even using probability manipulation. You're just moving really fast and precise. Thanks. I did a lot of ballet as a kid. Ray wiped a small bead of sweat from her forehead. What's next? Kael's secondary hearts were pounding. This wasn't possible. He turned to Blazer Sunfist. Give her the plasma press challenge. No human could possibly... Actually, Sonira interrupted, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. According to the regulations, since she passed the first 2 phases, we have to move directly to phase 3. A hush fell over the assessment chamber. Even the quantum fluctuations seemed to quiet down. Phase 3 hadn't been attempted in over 3 galactic standard years. The last being who tried it had evolved into pure energy just to escape. Very well, Kael said, his voice dropping to a serious tone. Ms. Blake, are you familiar with the concept of temporal resistance training? Ray cracked her knuckles, a sound that made several of the observing aliens wince. You mean like doing burpees while time flows in different directions? Sounds fun. I usually do those on Thursdays anyway. And as Kael began programming the temporal distortion field, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had severely underestimated either this particular human or possibly the entire species. The way she approached each challenge with that irritating smile, as if she were actually enjoying herself. Sonira whispered, her crystalline form trembling. You might want to check the human athletic database again. I just found some interesting footage of something called American Ninja Warrior, but it was too late. The temporal distortion field was already powering up, and Ray Morgan was bouncing on her toes, looking for all the world like someone about to enjoy a light workout, rather than face one of the most grueling physical challenges in the known universe. Ready when you are, she called out cheerfully. Oh, and just so you know, I brought my own protein shake for after. It's something we humans call ghost pepper extract. Anyone want to try it? The temporal distortion field hummed to life, creating a kaleidoscope of time zones throughout the assessment chamber. Word had spread through the facility, and now the observation deck was packed with aliens of all species, pressing against the quantum-reinforced windows to watch. Begin Phase 3, Kael announced, trying to maintain his professional demeanor despite his growing unease. You'll need to complete a full workout routine while experiencing multiple temporal flows simultaneously. Sweet, Ray replied, stepping into the field. It's like that time I had to catch 3 different trains to make it to my morning Pilates class. The crowd gasped as Ray began moving through the temporal zones with surprising grace. In one zone, time flowed backwards, causing her to perform a perfect reverse deadlift. In another, time moved sideways, a concept that made most beings' brains hurt. Yet she adapted her squats accordingly. Fascinating, murmured a hive mind physicist from the observation deck. The human appears to be using her species' natural temporal linearity as an advantage. What do you mean? Asked Naira, who had been documenting everything with growing excitement. Well, the physicist's 1,000 voices spoke in unison. Since humans can only perceive time in one direction, they don't get confused by temporal variations. They just push through it. Down in the chamber, Ray was picking up speed. Hey, this is pretty fun. It's like dancing through a time tornado. Though I gotta say, the sideways time zones are murder on the knees. Kael's bioluminescent patterns were now flashing in patterns that translated roughly to complete disbelief. Increase the temporal displacement, he ordered. Add in some quantum uncertainty principles. The machine complied, and suddenly Ray found herself having to complete her exercises while existing and not existing simultaneously. To everyone's surprise, she just laughed. Reminds me of my college days. You never knew if you'd make it to morning workout until you actually got there. She performed a perfect burpee while being and not being at the same time. Though I do have one question. Does this count as one set or multiple sets? I'm trying to track my reps. Axel vibrated in confusion. But how are you maintaining form in quantum uncertainty? Oh, that's easy, Ray replied, moving into a series of jumping jacks that somehow crossed 4 different time streams. When in doubt, engage your core. Every personal trainer in history has said that, so it must work across all dimensional planes, right? A group of Andromedans in the observation deck began taking notes. Next to them, a silicon-based life form was recording everything with its crystalline eyes, muttering something about revolutionizing our understanding of fitness. Blazer Sunfist floated closer to Kael. Sir, should we tell her about the gravitational fluctuations? What gravitational? Kael began, then noticed that Ray had already adapted to the random gravity changes by treating them like some sort of extreme interval training. This is great, she called out, doing push-ups that alternated between 0G and 50 times Earth's gravity. Way better than those weighted vests I used to use, though I think I'm sweating in reverse in this time zone. Is that normal? Naira's crystalline form was practically vibrating with excitement. Sir, you might want to see these readings. Her endorphin levels are actually increasing. Impossible, Quantum Queen declared. No one enjoys Phase 3. It's literally designed to be unenjoyable. The crowd had grown so large that some beings had started betting on how long the human would last. To their surprise, they had to keep extending their time estimates. You know what would make this better? Ray suggested, now doing temporal lunges while phasing in and out of reality. Some music. Anyone know any good trans-dimensional workout playlists? A helpful Venusian DJ in the crowd started playing something that existed in all temporal planes simultaneously. Ray immediately started timing her exercises to the beat, creating what appeared to be a one-woman trans-temporal dance fitness class. Several alien observers began trying to follow along, resulting in minor temporal paradoxes, and one very confused Neptunian who accidentally exercised himself backwards through puberty. Should we stop her? Axel asked nervously. I think she's starting to affect local space-time. Indeed, Ray's enthusiasm for the workout had created several stable time loops in which she was spotting herself on temporal bench presses. The physics-defying nature of her exercise form had attracted the attention of 3 separate galactic science academies. Look, she called out, now doing what appeared to be mountain climbers through a temporal cascade. I don't mean to be rude, but is this still part of the warm-up? Because I was hoping to get some actual exercise in before lunch. The observation deck erupted in chaos. A group of Martian physical trainers fainted. 2 quantum physicists began arguing about rewriting their theories on human limitations. Someone in the back started a chant that sounded suspiciously like human, 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 human. Kael watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as Ray began incorporating the temporal anomalies into what she called a superset. She was simultaneously doing pull-ups in the future, crunches in the past, and somehow managing a perfect plank pose in a moment of time that technically didn't exist. "Ma," Anira called out, her voice filled with awe. "You're currently breaking 17 different laws of physics." "Really?" Ray replied, pausing in mid-temporal jump rope. "Does that mean I'm burning extra calories?" The crowd lost it. Even Blazer Sunfist, who had once maintained his plasma form in a black hole for fun, looked impressed. The hive mind physicist had split into its 1,000 individual components, each one trying to calculate how this was possible. "Oh, hey," Ray said, noticing the growing audience. "Is this one of those group fitness classes? Should I make room for others to join in?" "No," shouted every alien in the facility simultaneously, having seen enough temporal workout accidents for one day. Kale realized he had to do something before this human accidentally created a new branch of temporal physics through sheer workout enthusiasm. But as he watched her casually, doing yoga poses across multiple dimensions while explaining her breathing technique to a fascinated group of Time Lords, he couldn't help but wonder if perhaps their entire understanding of physical fitness needed updating. Sernira whispered, her crystalline form now glowing with excitement. "I think we might need to create a new membership category." "Enough," Kale declared, his bioluminescent patterns now flashing in emergency strobe mode. "Clearly, we need to advance to the maximum intensity protocols. Blazer, Quantum Queen, Axel, initiate the gauntlet." The crowd fell silent. The gauntlet hadn't been attempted since the Great Gym Games of the Andromeda sector, where it had caused 3 stars to go supernova from the sheer exertion involved. Sernira protested, "Is that really necessary?" "Ooh, a gauntlet?" Ray interrupted, still doing temporal jumping jacks, like American gladiators, but with more potential to rip apart the space-time continuum. The assessment chamber transformed, reality bending as the most challenging equipment in the known universe materialized. The antimatter assault course appeared first, followed by the neutron star weight rack and the infamous probability treadmill. "Simple rules," Kale announced, trying to keep his voice steady. "Complete each station while our top trainers attempt the same. Last one standing wins." Ray took a long drink from her water bottle. "Cool, but quick question. Should I keep my heart rate in the cardio zone? Or is this more of a hit-hit situation?" Before Kale could respond, Blazer Sunfist moved to the antimatter assault course. "Prepare yourself, human. This course exists in a state of constant molecular destruction." Neat. Like hot yoga, but spicier. The challenge began. Blazer, being made of plasma, initially took the lead, his form flowing through the antimatter obstacles with practiced ease. However, halfway through, he noticed something disturbing. Ray was keeping pace, using what she called parkour techniques to navigate the molecular destruction. But how are you avoiding atomic dissolution?" he sputtered, his plasma form flickering with confusion. "Oh, that's just good footwork," Ray replied cheerfully. "Plus I'm engaging my core. Always engage your core." Quantum Queen took over at the neutron star weight rack, her probability shifting form allowing her to manipulate the ultra-dense weights. "Let's see you match this, human." Ray approached the rack, studied it for a moment, then asked, "What's your policy on chalk? Because these weights seem a bit slippery, what with breaking the laws of physics and all." To everyone's astonishment, she began lifting, not through probability manipulation or quantum tunneling, but through what she described as proper form and controlled breathing. "Impossible," shouted a physicist from the crowd. "Those weights have the density of a collapsed star." Yeah, they're pretty heavy, Ray agreed, completing another set. But you know what they say, no pain, no gain. Axel took his turn on the probability treadmill, his 12-dimensional form spreading across multiple realities to maintain balance. This device operates on pure, mathematical chaos no three-dimensional being could possibly... Oh wow, it's like that moving walkway at the airport, but... Angry Ray hopped on, quickly finding her rhythm. Hey, does this thing have an incline setting? One by one, the alien competitors began to drop out. Blazer Sunfist's plasma form condensed from sheer exhaustion. Quantum Queen's probabilities collapsed into a single tired reality. Axel simply existed and gave up simultaneously. The crowd was going wild. A group of Venusian sports journalists had started a live broadcast across 3 galaxies. In the background, several physics professors were crying. I don't understand, Kyle muttered, watching Ray complete another set of what she called reality-bending burpees. We've thrown the most physically demanding challenges in the universe at her, and she's treating it like a light workout. Naira's crystalline form sparkled with sudden realization. Sir, I think I figured it out. Look at her form. She's not trying to bend reality or manipulate probability. She's just adapting. Indeed, Ray had developed a unique strategy for each challenge. She turned the antimatter obstacles into a complex HIT circuit. The neutron star weights became an opportunity for working on her form. Even the probability treadmill was just interval training with extra math. You know what would make this better? Ray called out, now doing one-armed push-ups in a quantum uncertainty field. Some motivational posters. Maybe something like, every dimension is leg day, or no quantum excuses. The crowd had started taking notes. A Centaurian personal trainer was frantically recording her techniques. Someone had started selling t-shirts that read, "Engage your core across the cosmos." As Ray completed her 15th set on the neutron star bench press, Cale realized they had reached a critical moment. Either they admitted defeat or... Final test, he announced desperately. The simultaneous infinite challenge. You must perform every possible exercise in every possible reality at once. The room hushed. Several beings phased out of existence just from considering the challenge. Ray took another sip of water. Sounds fun. But quick question. Does this count as cardio or strength training? I'm trying to keep my workout schedule balanced. As the chamber began to reconfigure for the final challenge, Nira leaned over to Kael and whispered, "Sir, I've been reading more about human exercise habits. Did you know they invented something called marathon running just for fun?" Kael's bioluminescent patterns went completely dark. What kind of species invents voluntary endurance torture? The answer, as it turned out, was about to demonstrate exactly that. The simultaneous infinite challenge transformed the assessment chamber into a kaleidoscope of realities, each containing its own set of physics-defying exercises. The observation deck was now packed with beings from across the galaxy, including 3 separate councils of physical education elders who had teleported in for the occasion. "Ready?" Kael asked, his voice carrying a hint of resignation. "You bet." Ray bounced on her toes. "Though I should mention, I had a pretty carb-heavy breakfast, so I might be a little sluggish." The challenge began. Ray found herself simultaneously doing CrossFit in the 11th dimension, yoga in negative space, and what appeared to be a very aggressive Zumba class in a pocket universe where rhythm was the fundamental force instead of gravity. "Form check," she called out while maintaining plank position across 16 realities. "I think my elbow might be slightly off in the dimension where time flows backwards." The crowd watched in amazement as she navigated through every possible workout variation ever conceived, and several that theoretically couldn't exist. She did burpees in quantum foam, deadlifts in dark matter, and something she called mountain climbers, that actually caused a small mountain range to form in the space between spaces. "Remarkable," commented a pan-dimensional sports scientist. "She's not even using advanced physics. She's just sweating." Speaking of which, Ray piped up, now doing jump rope in antimatter. "Does anyone have a towel? Multiversal cardio really works up a perspiration." "Yes." Kale watched as his ultimate challenge, the one designed to humble even the most advanced beings in the universe, was transformed into what Ray kept referring to as a pretty decent circuit training session. She had somehow turned an infinite number of reality-bending exercises into a structured workout routine, complete with proper rest periods between sets. "Water break," she called out, pausing briefly in a pocket of stable space-time. "Hey, does anyone want to join in? It's more fun with workout buddies." Several brave souls in the crowd actually stepped forward, only to be held back by their more sensible friends who had seen enough gym accidents for one day. As the challenge reached its peak, something unprecedented began to happen. The infinite reality started synchronizing with Ray's rhythm. She had inadvertently created what quantum physicists would later call the perfect form, a state of exercise so precise it actually stabilized the multiverse. Is she humming?" Naira asked, her crystalline form vibrating in harmony with the synchronized realities. Indeed, Ray was humming what sounded like Eye of the Tiger while completing her final sets across all dimensions. The crowd had started clapping along, causing minor fluctuations in the space-time continuum. "And done," Ray announced, bringing all realities back into alignment with one final perfect squat. "Great workout. Though next time, could we add some resistance bands? I really want to work on my glutes." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of several physics textbooks spontaneously combusting in the facility's library. Kyle stepped forward, his bioluminescent patterns displaying what could only be described as complete surrender. "Ms. Blake," he began formally. "In all my cycles as head trainer, I have never, nobody has ever failed to spot their partner," Ray suggested helpfully. "I know, right? Gym safety is super important, even in alternate dimensions." "No, Kyle took a deep breath. "Welcome to the galaxy's most elite fitness center. Your membership has been approved, though we may need to rewrite our entire training protocol." The crowd erupted in cheers, causing several reality ripples that would later be named the Great Gains Disturbance of Sector 7. In the weeks that followed, the facility underwent some significant changes. New signs appeared around the gym. "Please do not attempt human-style workouts without proper training. Temporal spotters required for trans-dimensional lifting. No creating stable time loops to get extra sets. Core engagement mandatory across all realities." Ray became something of a celebrity. She started teaching a class called Human-Style High-Intensity Integer Training, HIIT, with actual integers. The waiting list included beings from 3 different galactic superclusters. Naira had taken to wearing a headband with "What would Ray do?" written in crystalline form. She kept detailed notes on human exercise techniques, though she remained puzzled by the concept of feeling the burn in species that weren't naturally combustible. Even Blazer Sunfist signed up for her Fundamentals of Three-Dimensional Core Work seminar, though he had some trouble with the concept of breathing exercises, given his plasma-based existence. The facility's smoothie bar now stocked ghost pepper extract, though after an incident with a group of methane-breathing entities, they had to add a warning label. "Human supplements. Consume at your own risk. 1 month after the legendary assessment, Kyle sat in his office reviewing the facility's new training guidelines. The document was titled, Understanding Human Fitness, a guide to exercise without breaking reality. The first chapter was simply called The Core. It's always about the core. A knock at his door interrupted his reading. It was Ray. Hey Kyle, quick question. Would it be cool if I set up a little marathon training group? Nothing fancy, just a few light jogs between galaxies. Kyle's bioluminescent patterns flickered in what had become his standard response to Ray's requests, a mixture of terror and resignation. Define light jogs, he said carefully. Oh, you know, just 26.2 light years, standard distance. We'll keep it super casual. As Kyle watched her bounce away to spread the news of her new running club, he made a mental note to update the insurance policy again. On the wall of his office, next to his many certifications and awards, he hung a new sign. It read, First rule of universal fitness. Never underestimate a human who says, just one more set. Through the window, he could see Ray leading a warm-up session, a mix of beings from across the cosmos, attempting to touch their toes or equivalent appendages, while she encouraged them with what she called motivational earth sayings. Remember, folks, her voice carried through the facility, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Unless you're a quantum probability wave, then it might just collapse you into a paradox. Remember to breathe through that. Kyle smiled despite himself. The universe of fitness would never be the same, and maybe that was exactly what it needed. Though he did make a mental note to stock up on more towels. Humans, it turned out, produced an extraordinary amount of something they called sweat.